Hey church, Back to Church Month is coming up for us. And for many of us, we know and love Christians who are not a part of a church family. And so this month is an opportunity for us to be praying for and inviting people we know and love to come back to church, to one of the good gifts that God gives us. That's why I'm going to read a little bit from 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians is a book that's all about church. It's written from Paul to the church in Thessalonica. Now, the Thessalonian church was a very small church at this point, under the pump. But here Paul encourages them to encourage the people in their church, particularly to encourage the people for one reason or another who seem to be finding church really hard or being with God's people really difficult. In fact, one of the, I think the insightful things and the really kind of grace-filled things that Paul does here is he says, not everyone looks the same in this. Hear this from 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 14. He says, "And we urge you, brothers and sisters, warn those who are idle and disruptive, encourage the disheartened, help the weak, and be patient with everyone." Here Paul tells us people have different stories. For some people it's being idle, and for them a warning is helpful, a loving thing to do. For some people they're disheartened and they just need to be encouraged, and for others they are weak, they can't help themselves and they just need help. And then there's that bit that Paul says, be patient with everyone. So with this in mind, we've got a little 5-step thing of how we are going to be loving and encouraging people we know who don't have a church family. The first thing we're going to do is pray for them by name. You'll have a chance in your growth group, or even now, who's someone you know, a Christian who's not a part of a church family. Pray for them, or if no one comes to mind, pray that God might bring someone to mind for you. The second thing is just to catch up with them and just mention to them how encouraged you are by church. You might share, something that makes your heart sing about church. And another thing to do in that moment is that's not an opportunity to whinge and complain about church. When we whinge and complain, we do the devil's work for him. Now, it's not that, our church is not a perfect church, there are no perfect churches, but we want to be positive and thankful and grateful to God for our church family. And for many people who, for one reason or another, are not part of a church family, just to hear a story of gratitude will be really encouraging. The third thing that we want to do is just hear their story. In fact, for many of us in church, we've had extended periods of time where we've not been a part of a church family. Well, what's been that story? People have had different experiences in that. So we can ask our friend, well, what's your story with that? And listen. At that moment, we don't need to tell them what to do or to correct them, just to listen and hear what's going on for them. Fourthly, we want to invite, but it's an invite plus. We want to invite them to come back to church in July, back to church month, and it's an invite plus because for some of them, they might be idle or disruptive, and it might be helpful for a warning. Something like, what do you think you might be missing out on? Or maybe at the end of your life, do you think you'd regret not being a part of a church? But for most people, like Paul says, they're often just disheartened and they just need some encouragement. Maybe church has been really hard, or they've been hurt before in the past, or they're really busy, and just a little bit of encouragement. Say, maybe, I invite you to church and, hey, can I pray for you? Actually, that you would find a church family, even if it's not our church. And the third one is help. We can invite and say, hey, could I pick you up? Or for a lot of people, they tell us when they come back to church, they're just scared. Who am I going to sit next to? Am I going to sit by myself? Pray and maybe invite and say, hey, why don't you sit next to me? I'll save you a seat. And our final thing, remember what Paul said? Encourage the faint-hearted, warn the idle, and help the weak. And then what does he say? He says, be patient with them all. We're going to be patient with all of these people. What we need to do is rinse and repeat, to keep loving and praying and inviting. For some people, it might take many years of being invited to back to church month for them to come back to God's family. But church, this is what we love. This is God's good for people. He has not just given us the Lord Jesus. He has not just given us eternity. He has given us to each other. And church is a good gift. And so this month, in Back to Church month, we're going to be praying together and inviting together and encouraging that God will be bringing lost sheep home to his people.